So I wanted to talk a little bit about our company. The presentation is in three parts about sort of what we make and what we sell, how we do that, and then probably want to talk a little bit about the changes that our company, Taranakipine, has been through the last 10 years, or 6 or 7 years in particular, and probably why we're still here in the business today. So we're a mid-sized business. We manufacture from the saw log right through to the finished goods. We sell both into New Zealand market and international markets. Our business is really specialising in engineered wood products, sometimes referred to remanufactured products, and we have a make-to-order business making up to 1,500 product lines, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. So we're based in New Plymouth, established in the early 1980s, privately owned. We employ 170 staff, and that's fluctuated quite a bit over the last few years. We've invested quite a lot in capital expenditure and modernising some of our equipment and changing some of the processes. That's linked to some of the product changes we've made as well. Just in terms of the amount of volume of logs we process per day, it's around 16 truck and trailers per day. Well, that's hard to count now because the truck sizes have changed up to 50-tonne loads, but it's around that per day, about 500 tonne of logs a day we put through our sawmill. It's not a large mill, and we also buy in quite a lot of timber from other sawmills as well to match our finished products. Really what we do is we specialise with engineered wood products or remanufactured products for the exterior of a home. So good example here of laminated posts and beams, rafters going into pergolas. They're all finger jointed, laminated. A lot of weatherboard, fascia board, some decking there, premium grade decking. So if you go and look at any house throughout New Zealand or Australia, USA, we see the exterior products that are durable. Kind of that's us. That's our product range. But that's generally just a few because, like I said, there's up to 1,500 of them. They've been those products are all the, if you guys could grow some decent forests that weren't full of resin and didn't twist and crack and check, we wouldn't have to do half of this. But we take all those defects out and then we finger joint them back together again. And we treat them because you can't grow a tree that's durable. And then we prime them before we put them into the market. So there's a lot of work going into it to get these finished products. In terms of the New Zealand market, that represents about 30% of our sales. As I explained, the exterior of the house are the main products. A lot of low grade out of the centre of the log. Again, problem with the tree you grow, but that goes into a lot of pallets and that type of product. But often we sort of ignore, and even us that run these companies, the residues. But in our region in particular, the residues in particular, wood shavings are becoming a bigger part of our business. So this is with laminated product, it goes through a planer. The finished product goes through a planer 3 times to get the finished product. We produce a lot of shavings, and that's worth nearly $500,000 to us a year now. In Bell Block, which is right next, well, a kilometre from where our operation is Tegel, and they kill 115,000 chickens a day. So there's a massive network of chicken sheds all throughout Taranaki that need bedding for those chickens. And so we provide the shavings to the bedding, and it's a pretty cool environmental story as well. You can imagine what happens on top of those shavings for 40 days, and then that gets turned into fertiliser and put back onto the land as a fertiliser around the farming areas of Taranaki. And then more recently, we've sort of been battling a little bit with the dairy industry in terms of getting some recognition with our previous government. But one good thing about being in Taranaki as well is that there's plenty of cows, and more of those cows are going into sheds, and those sheds need bedding as well. So we've been trucking wood chip to pulp mills, a long way, Kinleith, Kariori from our operation. Now we're getting some local demand for wood chip for basically the bedding for those cow sheds. So our residue industry is becoming pretty big part of our business, and very important and adding a lot of value to our bottom line. Australia, this is our big market. This is our bread and butter market. We've been in Australia for a long time with laminated post beams and rafters in particular, so laminated structural products. We do about 40-foot containers a month into Aussie. That's about 10,000 laminated posts being sold into Australia every month. No Australian builder will build a house with a solid veranda post or any post. It's all engineered. We've not been able to convince New Zealand building fraternity yet to convert to a much higher grade product. But it's a big market for us. Just to bring it into context, it's about $70,000 per container in terms of value. If you try to squeeze, which I used to do in Taranaki, logs into those same containers, that's about $5,500 of value inside those containers if it was logs. So a lot of value add, a lot of costs gone into getting it there too though. But it's a big market for us and it's very important. It's the one we sort of focus on most. We have our moments when the exchange rate goes all over the show on us. Dickie's helped us quite a bit in trying to manage that over the years, the foreign exchange cover. But it's a good place to be. Australia, 20-something million people versus 4 million in New Zealand, just gives you the scale of the market. So in terms of how we service that market, it's actually a relatively small market compared to, say, the framing timber market. The product range that we do, it's quite a specialist product range. So how we service that market is to put all our product through different primer colours and different branding and sell it under different brands to kind of spread it. So these are the three main brands that we sell into Australia. Design Pine, the Design Pine and Weatherproof are customer brands, so we co-brand with them, and that gives us the ability. So Design Pine, they're the largest wholesaler in Australia, right throughout the whole country, predominantly selling into the trade industry or business. And then Woodhouse Weatherproof, that's our second largest customer there, significant to us, and they're in every Bunnings store. So I think there's 83 Bunnings stores in Australia, soon to be 100. That's been a very big market for us, and that's the do-it-yourself market predominantly. So we're not having our product competing too much against each other, and then we sell under our own brand also with some other customers as well. So Australia's been good. Expected it to have a housing downturn in the last 12 months or so, and it just seems to keep on coming. So that's been a good market for us in recent times. USA, what's probably interesting about this business for us is that it's the same exterior products that we sell predominantly into New Zealand and Australia. That's the exterior of the building. A little bit like Coles in Newcastle, massive industry over there in terms of the timber industry. But we've, as a group of 6 companies, about 10 years ago, created basically a marketing company. So we went into a collaborative approach where we knew on our own, when I say we, it wasn't me, it was before my time, but on our own we couldn't penetrate that market and do it on our own. The cost of entry would have been too great to sustain the startup. So 5 or 6 companies doing similar products here in New Zealand collaborated together, formed a marketing company called Bodyguard Wood Products Limited, so Bodyguard being our brand, and entered that market, and with finger jointed laminated exterior treated products, and predominantly into California, Northern California, Bay Area in particular. So those that travel to San Francisco, see all the old timber buildings there, it's that product range going into that market. And we were competing with, in particular, cedar and redwood that was locally grown. And they were having issues with their second rotation crop being not as stable and as straight and as high performing as their old growth species. And that product wasn't performing very well in its straight form, so it gave us the opportunity to sneak in there with a high performance product, and it goes pretty well. We just coming over here the other day, got a 10-11 container order, so it's about $1 million order just for 1 month. So that's going really well for us. And just in the last year, we've taken over 100% ownership of that brand as a company. So like a lot of partnerships, they have, they're there to set up and get going, but not a real intention to last forever. Each company, and I can explain about what our company did in terms of transforming soon, but we find our different places. So just recently, we've got down to, I think, 3 companies for a long time. Then one of those companies sold, left 2. So I've done a deal with the other company that we've taken over ownership of the brand. That other company in South Island services the East Coast, and we do the West Coast, and we just work together, and it's going really well. And then the other market that we're into just more recently is selling clear timber, in particular into the Netherlands. This is 40 mil clears. They're going to a company in Arnhem in Holland, and it goes through a acetylation process where the timber is modified, and it basically makes the timber hard and strong and very durable. And that's our main customer. It's a fairly new thing. We've been only cutting a high level of prune logs in the last couple of years, and we've got another customer there just sort of fledging. But that's been going really well for us, getting started. And that velodrome there, that's made out of our Taranakipines 40 mil clears. That's in the Netherlands. There's one being built with the same material. Cotea is the brand name of the product. Another one being built in China at the moment. And I see Mike Colley here, keen cyclist. They reckon they're going to break world records on that track due to the hardness of that radiata pine. And a lot of it came out of that forest, Waikiri forest, which Steve just spoke about. So Roger, that's your first harvest, I think, was it? First commercial one. So yeah, so a lot of the prune came out of this forest, and just the back of Waverley. And just show my age, I remember mustering sheep on that farm with Sandy Elmsley quite a long time ago. So how do we make this stuff? These guys, right? Number one, we could have the best machines. We could be located closer to the forest than what we are. We could have the best customers in the world, but unless you've got a great team, you're going nowhere. So within this team, there's a lot of experience, and behind it is a lot of process and procedure and ways of making our products. 1,500 product lines made to order, and trying to get it right on time and do it profitably is pretty tough. So this team do it, and there's been times when I've sort of thought about why we located in Taranaki, maybe we should do it somewhere else. And the reality is people like living in Taranaki. So if I said, hey, come on guys, we're going to relocate to Karangaroa Village, I don't think anyone would go, including myself, So we've got 2 sites in New Plymouth, typical Naki day. So this is the main site in Bell Block, and the other one's only a couple of kilometres away. So we do the sawmilling right through to the moulding through this site, and the other one's just a few kilometres away, and that's where we do the treatment, the priming, and the dispatching. Our product goes through, so this is all the remanufactured product now, not the clears or the engineered wood products. Goes through 11 manufacturing stages. So from when the log arrives on the site to that finished product going into a container, there's these 11 steps. So sawmilling, drying the timber, defecting out all those defects. We finger joint it back together again, and most of our products laminated. So we plane it before it gets laminated to get nice clean surfaces to glue it together. We laminate it, and we plane it again to its finished moulded size. We treat the product, then we prime it. About 90% of our products, 95% of our products are sold with their first coat of paint, so the primer. Packaging, and then we dispatch directly from our site to the ports. And you think that's complicated? That actually goes through 29 steps. That was just an easy version, all right? So and this, I'm not going to go through these steps, but there's actually 29 steps for a laminated product when we include all the storages and some of the details behind how we do this. And we make to order. So when we take an order, we confirm a shipping date that's going to be on this ship to Sydney on this date, and we work all our way back to the sawmill to deliver on time. So as a product comes off our finishing line, it goes straight into a container and it's dispatched that day, basically. So this is probably what I consider our real key competitive advantage, not the machines, not the customers, not the products. It's the know-how that goes into our ability to be able to do this. This is hard. I've been in the timber or forestry and then timber processing industry all my career, and in terms of wood manufacturing, being able to do this and do it profitably without lots of loss in process or lots of stock and downgrade, This is the toughest, and that's why I put the team up first. And I arrived at the business when it was doing this well. It was nothing to do with me. So I'll do this quickly. I think Wally wants me to go fast, so just a little bit on the sawmilling. Our sawmill's nothing fantastic. It's quite old. It's the original one. It's had some upgrades and it's due for some more. But really, it's a grade cutting mill, so it's a log carriage mill. So that gives us the ability to turn the log around, cut for grade, cut the exact sizes of timber that we need for our waterfowl. So it has a lot of flexibility. So it's not flash, it's not fast, but it gives us that ability to do that, and we have good control over our feedstock. In terms of scanning technology, so this is more recent. This is probably our most important investment we've made in the last 7 or 8 years. This is where, so our log cost represents about 40 to 50% of our total cost of operating. So the more fibre we can get into a finished product, the better we do. 1% gain in recovery through this operation represents about $250,000 a year to us. So small incremental gains are really important. So I think we commissioned this 2009. So labour's our second largest cost. So this operation took us from 34 staff doing this manually down to 7 staff, and we had 11% yield increase in our grade recovery by using scanning technology. So in this, I don't have a video of it, but what's happening is that timber's running through a scanner. That scanner's got 4 different types of cameras, and it's also got X-ray. So it's looking at the timber like we would be and getting a true vision on it with using lots of different cameras. So not totally dissimilar sort of discussion to that LiDAR stuff that Roy was talking about before. And then there's value decisions being made about where and how to cut, and there's lots of different grades. We do non-structural and structural and clears and tight knot and different grades going through. And that timber's going through the scanner at up to 200 metres a minute, and the scanner sends a signal to those saws, cuts the block, and then it kicks those blocks into those bins down the end of the picture there. So it's been probably good German engineering at its best, expensive, but works well. And then we take those, so you've grown these trees to 30 metres long, and then we cut them up into about 40 centimetre blocks. All right? It's your guys' fault, not mine. And so then this is kind of the engineering. So we've segregated that fibre by stiffness, by grade, by size, and now we start rebuilding it back into laminates really for our next processes. And we've made them stable, strong. We can do multiple levels of stiffness levels. So when we're building beams, we can build up the strength rating. So now we're sort of rebuilding that tree back into long lengths again. And about 70,000 of these little blocks go through our finger joiners per day, just to give you some idea. Just hitting the main processes here, not them all, but a good proportion of our business is laminated products. We used to do this manually. Recently, we worked ourselves with an engineering firm in Melbourne and designed this laminating press specifically kind of for us, for what we do. There was nothing off the shelf that we could find anywhere in the world that would sort of match our product range, and so we kicked this into gear about 1.5 years. Again, took some labour out, so about 14 staff down to 5. Got about 30% more output out of this machine than what we're doing before with manually, and but probably most importantly, gave us a lot more capability about what we can make. It has much better control over the quality of the product, and gave us some capability, which I'm going to talk about shortly, that we didn't have before. So that's a pretty nice bit of kit too. Not all our projects go well. We've had some disasters. The final stage before it goes into the finishing line is through a planer. So in this case, we've got very high-end whiny German planers, but we still have a lot of people manually checking the quality. I mean, that piece of timber being graded there is probably around $1,200 cubic metre now. So we don't want to have any loss at this stage. So we actually still use quite a bit of people checking the grade and fixing it, patching it where we can, so we don't downgrade it into a loss in process. So So combination of good technology and still people. We're not going to automate everything. I skipped treating, but the final stage before packaging is priming. So there's just a spray booth with some timber being dried, and then we dispatch it from our side. Unfortunately, not to the port of Taranaki anymore. They don't export containers. So that's how it's branded up. That arrive in Australia, 3-day shipping, and we're shipping to Aussie 2 or 3 times a week. So we really offer a domestic service to the Australian market, and that's what we were able to provide, say, over some of our competitors out of Chile and China, Vietnam, and the like. So why are we in New Plymouth? It's a question we regularly ask ourselves because of the climate, really. And the surfing and the skiing and all the other bits. You know, we're located next to a port that doesn't export containers, and but it does export logs. I'm actually really supportive of the log export market, so it's really important. But really, if you're going to have a wood processing business, put it close to the forest, not the port, and then at least you save on the transport costs, and it's good for the forest owner and good for the wood processor. But that's where it is because of this guy, Rodney Jones. So Rodney, he founded the business in New Plymouth in the early 80s, but he actually is a 23-year-old. He's from New Plymouth. He drove to Tongariro National Park and established Tongariro Timber in National Park and did a deal with the local iwi and what was equivalent to Department of Conservation and built a sawmill there first and cutting native. But Rodney's from New Plymouth, Taranaki man. He saw the first of the radiata pine woodlots coming into maturity, and so he built the sawmill around processing those logs, supplying and servicing the local market. So framing timber, decking, you name it, anything to build a house. So we did the full range. But over time, we had to the business had to adjust really to the resource that was available. So it wasn't nice tight knot log coming out of Kaingaroa Forest or Matahina or the like. It was woodlot grown, branches bigger than the trunks sort of stuff. So there was a lot of downgrade through the process. So there was almost a resource-based strategy, getting into remanufacturing to recover that fibre between the knots that was ending up in just boxing grade, and got into remanufacturing that way. And so that was the start. And then some very capable guys that are still with the business, Blair Thompson, John Sanders, they started developing these engineered wood products, not just the products themselves, but the markets, and in particular Australia. And so that's kind of been that is our niche, is this reman business. And you know, and we've just really focused our business on being good at that. We're not always great at it, but we've kept it our niche, which kind of is the theme of who we are and what we are today. It's not about being the biggest, it's about being good at the area that we know we can be good at. So in 2008 or thereabouts, January, remember it to the day, there were some 3 significant events that really had quite an impact on us and who we are today, and a bit of a wake-up call. And then the 4th is an opportunity coming somewhat later on. But the first 3 came at the same time and just whacked us like a train. And the first one was the GFC, and we all know about that. But what that meant for us, like a lot of companies, not just in our industry, is that our market, and the reason we exported, I have New Zealand, Australia, and the USA back then, was to have 3 markets. At least you've got one as an insurance when one goes down. Well, they all dropped a whole lot, like a lead balloon. The housing markets collapsed, and we found it really tough even to get an order at any price. That was tough. And then China been working on this great plan for a long time, but about the same time they kicked into gear their massive manufacturing sort of regime to create jobs and create cities and create wealth, but they didn't have any raw material, so they came and got ours. So we had a massive increase in log price, which I've got no problem paying plenty of money for logs, but not when the markets are crashing and the sales price is falling. So it was tough, and then just to cap it off, we had an increase in global competition because Chile, for example, who do have radiated pine just like us, do very similar products. They were hitting the US market hard with all the same products that kind of we were doing, but the US housing market went from like 2 million houses down to a low point of 350,000 housing starts. So they were looking for somewhere else to go. So where'd they come? Australia. So we had this, then the Vietnamese, and now we've got the Chinese doing the same thing. So we just got hit pretty hard, and it was a really tough time for us. Not just keeping it together, but financially. So we had to change, and we did. And so a lot of it was around actually just getting really good at this engineered wood products, particularly into our core markets. Improving productivity and the like. So it was really focused on that. But the other emerging opportunity, it wasn't really spoken about a lot back in the mid 80s, 2008 through to 2012. But there was this emerging sort of engineered wood products market that we'd been keeping a watching brief on, and we're quite a long time ago working out how we could be part of this. All right. So a two-part strategy for the business that is today was around that higher fibre recovery. So I won't go over the numbers again. We spent a lot of capital to get better recovery, produce our products faster per hour, so i.e. less labour. So we weren't looking to get more volume. It was just getting that same volume out in a short amount of time. And then move up the value chain into more engineered wood products. But you've got to make sure, everyone talks about value add. It's about the easiest thing to say. It's really hard to do, is making sure that you're not adding more cost and value. And we've had plenty of times when we found that out. So it was around specialising, moving away from commodities. Just accept where you don't have that competitive advantage, and pull out, have those difficult conversations with customers that, I know you want this product, but unless you're prepared to pay for this amount, we're not going to do it, and invariably they won't pay that amount, so you pull out. So I told you so. But it was still on margin. What are those opportunities? I say smart capital expenditure, so that's not about spending gazillions to be big and the fastest and the biggest, but it's about getting that fibre recovery, taking some labour out where it makes sense, but not, take labour out, you lose flexibility, so it's about, getting it right. Big program around lean manufacturing. I'm not going to go around lean is, but it's just the way we operate, the way we communicate with the team, and making daily, we manage that business daily, adjust it daily to what we need to do. Playing on our strengths, not trying to be something that we're not, and then in terms of optimisation, it's actually about utilising the capability and the manufacturing equipment and gear that we've got, rather than just spending another 50 million of capital. So building the business around what we've got. So just a quick one on less is more. So 2008 we had 45 million sales. This year it's around 50 million. Our log costs for the same volume is increased by $5 million a year. I think the average price in 2008 was $90. It's now about 150. So we've had to get the logs pay that and keep the business viable. You can see the wages came down. So that's some of that automation coming through. So we're not paying our staff less, we just have fewer people. I think we've got about 90 less people than we had at our peak. But you can see the volumes, our sawn timber, which is our sort of commodity line, volume is reduced significantly. But the laminated volume in particular, so all the laminated product has to be finger jointed first, so that's kind of an intermediary, but our laminated product, which is our highest margin product, has increased significantly in that 10-year period. So that's our gig, is laminated products. That's what we focus on being the best at. And you can see our average sales value has increased. And and I wouldn't be standing here today if I didn't say our profits increased as well as a consequence of these changes. All right, so it's worked. Nearly there, so I mentioned before about that emerging market for engineered timber buildings. What we needed to do is not stop there, because because some of those so-called value-add products are being, like a lot of things, are being commoditised. You know, there's fast followers coming through. You know, just in May, I visited a Chinese company that I've known for a little while that are doing exactly the same product. In fact, they're even using the same primer colour that we use. They're just copying our product. It's in Australia now. So if you don't, you just got to keep going. And so what we looked at is well, we already make laminated beams. We want to be part of this engineered building thing going on. Been a bit of publicity about it locally recently, but it's been happening for a long time in Europe and North America. We already make laminated beams. We've got some experience in both product development and market development. So I won't talk about this product in particular, but this is a more recent product development we do about joining weatherboards. But we've learnt these skills. About a year ago, we built our first building using a combination of materials, but engineered timber, our own product, to making some of our own buildings. So we started pulling some of this stuff together to go, well, what can we do? So we're now applying this capability that we have to a new product range and a new market into panels. So this is what we call PLT, so parallel laminated timber. So it's just a wide laminated beam working on its flat. So it's parallel, and we're starting with floors, so parallel laminated timber floors, and that's some stiffness testing that we're doing. Didn't have to spend any money on capital to do that. So this is a prototype floor. So when I talked about our ability to do product development, we do a lot of prototyping. So we just build the stuff, and so this is a floor that's gone down. It's out there weather testing because how much is it going to swell and so on. If it hadn't rained all through August, oh that's right, no, the weather's good in Taranaki, but through August and September, I would have actually had a picture of the floor in the house. So this is the first house that it's going into. So this is from the garage looking up, and that's the house that it's about to go into. And someone has to be a first adopter. So myself and Katrina, it's our house that it's going into, and so we've got some equipment arriving. It's on the water now, but by February next year, we're going to market with this product. We've already done the pre-launch. That's photos from the pre-launch at a conference a couple of weeks ago, but we're getting a lot of interest in this product. In fact, we've got about 5 houses being designed in it now. And pretty exciting. Pretty exciting to do something new too and different, but being careful. So we've utilised that capacity. We haven't gone and spent $20 million to build a CLT plant, just making good use of what we've got. And so I'm looking for a structural engineer who can communicate, if anyone knows of one, because we need someone to run this business, because we don't know much about building buildings, Yeah. So that's us. Thank you very much.